Hello friends, in this video we will discuss about salt, family of salt, definition of salt and pH of the salt. This concept belongs to acid, bases and salt. Now the first thing is definition of salt. Okay. Salts having the same positive or negative radicals are said to belong to a family. मतलब ऐसे सॉल्ट जिसके अंदर पॉजिटिव और नेगेटिव आयंस जो होते हैं वो अगर सिमिलर होते हैं तो उसे हम लोग सॉल्ट फैमिली कहते हैं. हियर द मीनिंग ऑफ रेडिकल मीन्स आयंस. फॉर एग्जांपल NaCl Na2SO4 belongs to the family of salt, sodium salt, okay, because their cation is common, sodium in NaCl and sodium in sulphate. Similarly, if we compare the composition of NaCl and KCl, we observe that their anion is common, so this is known as family of chloride salt. And the most thing we define the salt as per the discussion we have find out that just like that NaCl. So first thing is that those compounds which are made of ions, they are known as salts. Second thing is that those molecules, those compounds which contains cation of a base and anion of an acid is known as salt. ऐसे कंपाउंड्स जिसके अंदर कैटायन जो होता है वो बेस का होता है और एनायन जो होता है तो उसे हम लोग क्या कहते हैं, सॉल्ट कहते हैं. जस्ट लाइक दिस NaCl. In this NaCl, Na comes from NaOH which is a base and Cl comes from acid HCl. So in this compound cation comes from base and anion comes from acid, so it is known as salt. तो वो कंपाउंड जिसके अंदर कैटायन जो होता है वो बेस का होता है और एनायन जो होता है वो एसिड का होता है तो उसे हम लोग सॉल्ट कहते हैं. नाउ सम मोर एग्जांपल्स आर हियर. फैमिली ऑफ सॉल्ट. पोटेशियम सल्फेट. We know that the formula of potassium sulfate is K2SO4. Sodium sulfate, the formula is Na2SO4. Next is calcium sulfate, the formula here is CaSO4. Next is magnesium sulfate, MgSO4. Okay. So if we compare the composition of these four salts, we found that there is a common anion sulfate present in these salts. So these are the member of family of sulfate salt. So this is called as sulfate family. The other side, the examples like this: sodium chloride, sodium nitrate, sodium carbonate and ammonium chloride. This is a different thing like this, ammonium chloride. So if we compare sodium chloride and ammonium chloride, chloride is common there, so these are the example of chloride family of salt. And the other side, if we compare sodium chloride, sodium nitrate and sodium carbonate, in these three the common thing is sodium, so this is known as sodium family of the salt. So in this manner we can determine the family of a salt. Now the next thing is that how can we determine the pH of a salt. किस तरीके से हम लोग एक सॉल्ट की pH को डिटरमाइन कर सकते हैं. pH क्या होती है हम लोग प्रीवियस वीडियोस में बात कर चुके हैं. सबसे पहली चीज़ होती है कि किसी भी सॉल्ट का अगर आपको pH निकालना है तो सबसे पहले सॉल्ट को वाटर के अंदर डिसोल्व करके उसका एक्वस सॉल्यूशन बनाया जाता है. आफ्टर प्रिपेयरिंग द एक्वस सॉल्यूशन ऑफ ए सॉल्ट वी कैन डिटरमाइन द pH ऑफ ए सॉल्ट विद द हेल्प ऑफ यूनिवर्सल इंडिकेटर और pH इंडिकेटर. So whatever salt you have taken, you can find out the pH of a particular salt in by this manner. Now a salt of a strong acid and a strong base is always neutral and its pH value comes 7. On the other hand, the salt of a strong acid and weak base, the pH value is less than 7, and those of strong base and weak acid are basic in nature. The pH value is more than 7. Just for an example, look at here NaCl. In this NaCl, the base is NaOH and HCl is acid. We know that NaOH is a strong base and HCl is a strong acid. So both are equal strength, so they can neutral to each other, so its pH value will be here 7. Next part, suppose we have taken whole 2 SO4. This salt is known as ammonium sulphate. In this, ammonium comes from ammonium hydroxide and sulphate comes from sulfuric acid. Ammonium hydroxide is a strong base, sulfuric acid is a strong acid, ammonium hydroxide is a weak base, and H2SO4 is a strong acid. So acid is stronger there, so this pH value is less than 7 and its nature will be here acidic. One more example, suppose we have example of sodium acetate. In this sodium acetate, the anion comes from acetic acid, cation comes from NaOH. NaOH is a strong base, acetic acid is a weak acid. So the basic nature is predominant here, so the pH value of this salt will be greater than 7 and its nature will be here basic. So in this way we can find out the pH of any given salt and about its nature. Now this is a very interesting table. Sometimes salt has given, pH can be asked to you, which acid is used there and which base is used there can be asked from you. So just for an example, suppose we have taken NaNO3 sodium nitrate. We want to find out its pH. So first we have to find out which acid and bases are present in this given salt. So Na comes from NaOH, NO3 comes from HNO3 which is nitric acid. Nitric acid is a strong acid, NaOH is a strong base, so both are equal strengths, so its nature will be neutral, and if the nature is neutral, pH will be 7. So in this manner we can determine the pH of a salt. I hope you understand all these things. If you like this video, subscribe, comment and share. Thank you.